My intention in this essay is to demonstrate Freud's skill as a writer of fiction. I will use his essay, Fragment of an Analysis of a Case of Hysteria, commonly referred to as the Dora case, written in 1901, not published until 1905, as an example of his expertise in this role. For better or for worse, I'll come back to this question at the end. The young woman escaped Freud's clutches after only 3 months of treatment. Because of its brief duration, Freud was able to wrap up all the elements of her story neatly, something that, in his other 4 case histories, proved, understandably, more difficult. First, a personal note. I initially read Freud's case histories on an airplane, traveling through the night to visit my mother back in Johannesburg, South Africa. This was the 1970s, and I was a psychology student at the Institut Catholique in Paris. As I read about Dora, a girl of 17, not many years younger than I was, who was suffering from a plethora of symptoms, a hoarse cough, fainting fits, breathlessness, pains in her side and leg, I began to feel ill. I turned the pages fast with sticky fingers, drawn in by the direct voice, by the drama of the girl's story, and feeling increasingly faint myself. Was I, then, just as hysterical as Freud felt this young girl to be? Was my illness provoked by an identification with her? Was I just reflecting her symptoms as though through a glass, darkly? How could I differentiate my own feelings from hers, or, indeed, Freud's own? He, too, had experienced hysterical symptoms, and he, to give him his due, was one of the first to admit that men, too, could be hysterics. I felt that someone familiar was talking directly to me, but it was more than relief I felt when, upon landing, I was diagnosed with a typical case of measles. Freud wrote all 5 of his case histories toward the start of his career, 1901 to 14, shortly after his book on the interpretation of dreams appeared. The sequence was not incidental. Once he had published the extensive account of what he considered his single most important discovery, namely that dreams had meaning and that they could be made to yield to interpretation, he was at pains to show that they, like neurosis itself, were ubiquitous. Along the way, he demonstrated that real patients could be made to come alive as much as could fictional characters, something that none of his successors would ever match, not even the British pediatrician-turned-psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott, his closest competitor in this skill. Though Freud's aim in presenting the Dora case, he tells us, is to provide material to buttress his theories on dreams, my own is to show how he uses mystery and suspense, along with other writerly skills, to engage the interest and acquiescence of the reader.